77 million PSN users has been compromised. Whatever group or entity was responsible for the network outage had obtained your name, address, email, birth date, PSN login, purchase history, billing address, passwords, security answers, credit card number, and expiration date. Sony warns in their blog to be aware of all emails, phone calls, and postage scams being delivered to you asking for your personal information. If you use the same passwords and usernames across other sites and services, you're warned to change them immediately. And above all else, carefully review your account statements. The news makes headlines worldwide as Sony now becomes the victim to one of the largest online data breaches in history. With so much on their plate, the company has to answer one simple question. Why are they admitting this now? Why weren't consumers told right away? Where was the transparency? Sony answers those very questions in a follow-up for damage control. Sony's Director of Communications, Patrick Siebold, issued a few statements saying that there was a difference in timing between when the company identified the intrusion and when they discovered consumer data being compromised. The attack occurred on the 19th of April and shut the network down after it was discovered. Sony then brought in outside experts to help determine the scope of the incident. This apparently took days, right up until the 26th, when it was fully understood just what was accessed, to which Sony then revealed to the public that evening. Though this wasn't what the public was completely focused on, as other sites began reporting that PSN vulnerabilities were apparently well known amongst the PS3 hacking community. While many outsiders not familiar with the scope of PSN security were skeptical, it wouldn't take long for Sony to admit this themselves in just a few days. Sony holds a conference in Tokyo, Japan to apologize for their shortcomings and announce a welcome back package that all PSN users will receive once they can sign back onto the network. Every PSN user will get 30 days of PlayStation Plus and a selection of free games for their choosing. They gave an updated timeline that services to online gaming and Curiosity would be available in a week's time as well. But Sony also went into detail about what the company was going to be doing to prevent something like this from happening again. And they start by openly acknowledging that PSN had 3 layers of security, and the vulnerability that was accessed was fully known. But they made it clear that credit card information was encrypted, and that there was no evidence of them actually being stolen. And that while 10 million of those were exposed, there was no indication of fraudulent charges when talking with credit bureaus. Sony would be adding a new job of Chief Information Security Officer to add an extra layer of security, on top of adding automated software monitoring, enhanced levels of data encryption, enhanced detection software, and additional firewalls, all of which was currently being tested and thoroughly watched over by a third party. And lastly, once services were restored, every user would be required to create a new password to ensure a safe start back into the network.
Sony's CEO Howard Stringer facing harsh criticism after his company revealed hackers may have stolen the data of another 25 million accounts in a second security breach.
Just one day later, and Sony has now issued a press release regarding Sony Online Entertainment. While not totally related to PlayStation Network, SOE was also compromised to the tune of 24.7 million user accounts. As such, Sony suspended SOE services as well while they investigate the extent of that scenario. 12,000 encrypted credit cards were potentially accessed. While it wasn't clear at the time, this discovery would lead to the delay in PSN being restored that week. Sony Computer Entertainment President and CEO Kaz Hirai sends an open letter to the U.S. House of Representatives Subcommittee, answering questions about the breach. In the letter, Sony gets a bit more detailed about how the company discovered and approached the situation. They outlined their approach in that they would act with care and caution, and only provide relevant information to the public when it has been verified, once again reiterating the security firm they hired to oversee the forensic work. The intrusion was in fact discovered April 19th at 4:15 p.m. PDT, when members of Sony Network Entertainment America noticed unauthorized activity. Certain systems were rebooting when they were not scheduled to, which rose serious concern. The following day, April 20th, in the early afternoon, the team discovered evidence that some kind of data had been transferred off PlayStation Network without authorization. On April 22nd, Sony sent over all the information and evidence to the FBI. They also hired a second security firm to go over 9 of their 10 servers that were suspected. And by April 23rd, it was understood that the intruders used very sophisticated and aggressive techniques to obtain access. And more so, they hid their presence from system administrators by deleting log files. The company brought on a third security firm for more manpower in reviewing the extent of what was taken. And by April 25th, they concluded what was possibly taken, without ruling out credit card information as well. Sony also discovered files planted on SOE servers that were named Anonymous, with the words, "We are Legion," which makes Sony more suspectful that Anonymous was behind the attacks. Hacker group Anonymous still stood firm that while they did use denial of service attacks, they did not intrude on the network, nor would the group be interested in malicious intent. At this point though, Sony is now facing multiple lawsuits already filed, and a possible fine from breaching the UK's Data Protection Act. Later in the week, Sony upped the ante a bit by offering all affected users a $1 million identity theft insurance policy as an extra form of goodwill. And by May 6th, Sony had begun the final stages of internal testing for the rebuilt PlayStation Network, which would still need a bit more time due to the recent discovery from SOE's intrusion.
Hello, my name is Kazuo Hirai, and I'd like to share some news about our PlayStation and Curiosity services. Since the attacks on our networks, we've been working around the clock to bring game and media services back online. The service is being restored in phases, and I'm pleased to say that the first phase has now been launched in most regions of the world.
PlayStation Network service was finally being restored, slowly with North America and in the following days other territories, with online gaming, streaming, friends list, and chat being fully restored. A new system firmware update was required on top of changing your password. So many users actually attempted signing back on that Sony's password reset client was crashing, and that prolonged restoration a little bit more for some. But once in, users had a selection of games to choose from based on their region, on top of getting 30 days free of PlayStation Plus, and a 30-day extension to Curiosity members if they had an account at the time. And while millions of gamers around the world were just happy to be back online and playing games, Sony still had a lot of cleaning up to do, namely with paying the price. After everything was said and done, Sony claims the outage cost an estimated $171 million, with a £250,000 fine to pay for breaching the UK's Data Protection Act 1998. There was also a multitude of lawsuits that Sony wouldn't actually settle until 2015. And then there was the damage done to third-party publishers. PlayStation Network was down for 23 days, which is a considerable amount of revenue lost to many game creators. Come E3 2011, Sony Computer Entertainment America President and CEO Jack Tretton was able to also issue a public apology regarding the outage.
To our third-party publishing partners, you guys have been with us for over 15 years making tremendous games, and I know the network outage was costly to you. To our retail partners, you gave us shelf space when there was no PlayStation brand, and you've given us more than our fair share since 1995 when we launched the original PlayStation. Which brings me to the audience that I'm most interested in addressing, and those are our consumers. You are the lifeblood of the company. Without you, there is no PlayStation. I know we took you away from doing what you enjoy most, connecting and gaming with friends all over the world and enjoying the many entertainment options on PlayStation Network.
With the dust settled, many questions regarding the outage still loom. Namely, who was responsible for the attack? No arrests were ever made in direct relation to the PSN hack. And while many point fingers at Anonymous, it's merely circumstantial without any hard evidence, especially given the nature of the group. They typically never go after sensitive personal information and try to convey an image that is for the consumer. The message left on SOE servers could perhaps just be a ploy to keep the trail off the real intruders. There are a few reports that the old hacker group Lulzsec was responsible, though most of those reports are getting them confused with their attack against Sony Pictures and not specifically PlayStation Network. So this may be a scenario where we will never truly find out. Nor will we find out the extent of Sony's vulnerabilities with PSN. as many false reports came out claiming to know exactly what it was that was left open on PSN. And while Sony has increased security to the point of not having another data breach, they are still very susceptible to denial of service attacks, as evident from Christmas 2014 where both Sony and Microsoft were hit hard as customers tried to play brand new PS4s and Xbox Ones. But when reflecting on the entire outage and what led up to it, you have to wonder why Sony wasn't better prepared for something like this. Surely no security is perfect. Even government agencies are compromised with the right coordinated attack, which is exactly what Sony faced. But from the early onset, PlayStation Network always appeared to be the bare minimum. Something as simple as changing your online ID became a nigh impossible task because of how the network was built from the beginning. Sony's current answer to changing your PSN could, in theory, disrupt leaderboards and game data if you attempt to play an older game. PSN two-step verification came 3 years after Xbox One had the feature. PlayStation Plus is now required to play games online in the 8th generation of video game consoles. At a certain point, you just have to ask, when is Sony going to make sure PlayStation Network is ahead of the curve? Always secure, always online, always updated. In recent years, the company has vowed to better PSN, and I sincerely hope they do. Those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. Hey everyone, Ryan here. Thank you so much for watching this documentary. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't yet, of course, subscribe to the best PlayStation news, reviews, and updates here on YouTube. And if you could, please consider supporting the channel and content like this over at patreon.com/MysticRyan. Any support would be greatly appreciated. These video game documentaries take a very long time to make, so trust me, any
Peggle.